Today we will learn about fermented juices, vegetables and other beverages. In this we will understand what is the need of fermentation, what are fermented vegetable juices, what is the role of additives added for the fermentation process, what are the microorganisms which are present as contaminant in the juices. There are also certain non-dairy probiotic beverages and other beverages, the different type of fermented dairy beverages and also the fermented fruits, vegetables, lactofermentative dairy beverages. As you know that fruits and vegetable juices are rich sources of nutrients, minerals, antioxidants and they are therefore considered as health promoting drinks. As you know that vitamins and minerals are essential for the well-being of human being and also they assist in the prevention of diseases in the consumers. Vegetables have low but fruits are often rich in sugar content and they are also rich source of essential nutrients which can sustain the growth of acid tolerant bacteria, yeast, molds and they thus serves as a natural medium for fermentation. The perishable nature of fruits and vegetables is primarily because of their high water activity and their high nutritive value. The presence of fermentable saccharides in fruits and vegetables determine their rate of fermentability. Fermentation, as you know, is a microbe or enzyme mediated decomposition of organic substances that convert the carbohydrates present in fruits, vegetables and other food products into alcohols or organic acids. Practically, all group of food items are amenable to fermentation by one or another group of microorganisms. And you should be surprised to know that this process can be spontaneous or it can be mediated by certain additional microorganisms added as starter cultures. The process can be spontaneous if the native lactic acid bacteria, the surface microflora such as Lactobacillus species, Leuconostoc species and Pediococcus species are present on the surfaces of the fruits and vegetables. However, we can also use starter cultures which are added exogenously such as Lactobacillus plantarum, other lactobacilli species like Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Lactobacillus gasseri, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and the advantage of these starter cultures is that they provide consistency and reliability of the end product. Fermented fruits and vegetable juices are often prescribed as a health promoting drinks because they are rich in antioxidants, vitamins, minerals which are essential for the well-being and prevention of diseases in man or any other consumer. Fermentation, as you know, is a microbe or enzyme mediated decomposition of carbohydrates to alcohol or organic acid. The perishable nature of fruits and vegetables is attributed to their high water activity and nutritive values. The process can be spontaneous, mediated by the natural or the native lactic acid bacterial species which are present on the surfaces of fruits and vegetables such as Lactobacillus species, Leuconostoc species, Pediococcus species, and these are all lactic acid bacteria. The fermentation can also be mediated by use of an efficient starter culture to get a consistent and reliable end product. Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Lactobacillus gasseri and Lactobacillus acidophilus are commonly used as commercial starter culture components. Now, let us look as what is the need of fermentation. The objective of fermentation to enhance the organoleptic and nutritional quality of the product formed, and secondly, lactic acid bacteria can also modify the intestinal microflora positively, and thereby they prevent the colonization of the gut with other enteric pathogens. They improve the consumer health and they are rich source of nutrients, especially the colored pigments like flavonoids, lycopene, anthocyanin, beta carotene and glucosinolates. Fermentation is therefore a preservation method, and it also aids in the removal or detoxification of many anti-nutrient compounds which are naturally present in certain fruits and vegetables. Now, what are the different categories of fruits and vegetables which can be used as a substrate for fermentation? We can broadly classify them as root vegetables such as carrot, turnips, beetroot, or they can be vegetable fruits such as cucumbers, olives, tomatoes, peppers, or they can be just used as vegetable juices, for example, carrot, turnip, tomato, pulp and onion. There are certain fruits like apples, pears, immature mangoes, immature palms, lemons and fruit pulps such as the pulp derived from banana. Then the other category is fermented vegetable juices. The lactic acid fermented vegetable juices, which are also termed as lacto juices, are prepared primarily from cabbage, red beet, carrot, celery and tomato. The fermentation of vegetable juices the fermentation process can be spontaneous fermentation by the innate microflora or the native microflora which is present on the surfaces of the fruits and vegetables, or the fermentation can be mediated by use of externally added starter cultures. The starter culture mediated fermentation can be undertaken either on the heat treated material or they can be used on a native substrate. The common methods of production are: first category, where the vegetables are fermented first and then the juice is extracted from these fermented vegetables by pressure, for example during the manufacture of sauerkraut. The second category is preparation of vegetable mash or juice, and then this is followed by the fermentation of the mash or the juice. What are the prerequisites for the production of a good quality lacto juice? The first requirement is pre-treatment of fruits or vegetables prior to their fermentation. These pre-treatments primarily are washing, maceration with pectinolytic enzymes, and then pasteurization of the juices. The inoculation with efficient starter culture, which consists of Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus bavaricus and Lactobacillus xylosus, Lactobacillus bifidus and Lactobacillus brevis. There is need to add certain additives for bringing about the fermentation, and the role of these additives is to promote the development of lactic acid bacterial fermentation. They initiate and also accelerate the fermentation by serving as a source of nutrient, and these additives are sugars, vitamins and minerals. They also add desirable aroma, flavor and taste to the final fermented product. Some example of additives include garlic, mustard seeds, and these additives also combat the spoilage microorganisms. Another additive is salt, sodium chloride. Salt inhibits the potential pectinolytic and proteolytic enzymes which are responsible for vegetable softening and putrefaction. Certain microorganisms are also contaminant of juices, and these microorganisms originate from the fruits and vegetables during the post-harvest processing process, and these microorganisms, because of the presence of nutrients in the fruits and vegetables and their low pH value, readily grow on these substrates. Yeast and molds are the main causal organism for the spoilage of vegetable and fruit juices. There are other certain fungi such as Alternaria, Aspergillus, Cladosporium and species of Fusarium and Rhodotortula mucilaginosa, which is responsible for the spoilage of fruit juices and vegetable juices. Also, certain bacterial species such as Bacillus cereus, Serratia species, E. coli and Staphylococcus aureus are also responsible for the spoilage of juices. The spoilage organisms cause certain observable changes in the product, and these are loss of cloud, second, development of off flavors, third, production of carbon dioxide, fourth, change in the color of the product, fifth, change in the texture and appearance, and all of these contribute to the overall degradation of the product. The major factor responsible for the degradation and the factors which promote the growth of spoilage microorganism are primarily the pH of the substrate, second, oxidation reduction potential of the substrate, third, the water of activity, next is the availability of nutrients, that is the substrates which are rich in nutrient are good substrate for the growth of spoilage microorganisms, and presence of antimicrobial compounds and competing microflora. These are the major factors which govern the rate of degradation and the growth of spoilage microorganisms in the juices. Now, let us have a look of major spoilage organisms in fruit juices and beverages. Primarily, yeast are the prominent organisms, and many species of yeast such as Pichia, Candida, Saccharomyces and Zygosaccharomyces are implicated for the degradation of juices and vegetable products. Rhodotortula synthesize the enzyme pectin esterases, which degrade the pectin component of the fruits. The yeast mediated spoilage is primarily characterized by the turbidity, flocculation, pellicle formation, clumping, and also it is accompanied by certain chemical changes like formation of organic acids, formation of acetaldehyde, carbon dioxide, and alcohol. There are also certain bacteria such as Acetobacter, Alicyclobacillus, Bacillus species, Gluconobacter, Lactobacillus, Leuconostoc, Zymomonas, and Zymobacter. These are also major contributor of the spoilage of these products. Now we come on non-dairy probiotic beverages. We call them as non-dairy because these are produced mainly from grains, beans, seeds such as malted oats, maize, rice, alfalfa seed, pearl, millet, barley, linseed, mung bean, rye grain, wheat, millet, and other non-dairy sources. The chief organism responsible for the production of non-dairy beverages are lactobacilli and yeast. Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus delbrueckii are the two lactobacilli commonly responsible for the fermentation. The yeast species such as Saccharomyces boulardii, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, they are the prominent organisms. These dairy-free beverages are refreshing, effervescent, rich in probiotic organisms like lactic acid bacteria and yeast. They are also rich source of vitamins, amino acid, and enzymes. There is another category of beverage which is known as vegetable yogurt like beverage, or it is abbreviated as VYLB. It is produced as a result of fermentation of cereals, soy flour, and concentrated red grape must. These beverages are primarily produced by the action of lactic acid bacteria, which consume the glucose and other sugars and malic acid of the grapes, and they bring about the production of acidic components such as lactic acid and ascorbic acid, and thereby they lower the pH of the beverage. Another group of beverages are the fermented whey based beverages. These beverages are produced by the action of lactic acid bacteria like Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus delbrueckii, Streptococcus thermophilus, and these beverages are characterized by a low pH value, and they are also having a low value of protein beta lactoglobulin, which is abbreviated as BLG content, and it is rich in branch chain essential amino acid. The whey protein concentrate is also employed as a functional food. Soya sauce is another fermented product. It is formed by the action of koji mold, which is nothing but Aspergillus oryzae or Aspergillus shoji, and these fungi produce proteolytic, amylolytic, and macerating enzymes. The lactic acid bacteria such as Pediococcus halophilus produce lactic acid and other organic acids. The yeast Saccharomyces roxy, Candida, they are also contributing by producing alcohol and flavor substances in the final product. Kombucha is another fermented beverage which is also known as black or green tea drinks. It is used as a functional beverage. The interesting feature of kombucha is that it is prepared using a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast, and this combination of symbiotic bacteria and yeast is known as SCOBY. The yeast used is Saccharomyces and it converts the sugars to alcohol. The bacterial component of SCOBY is Gluconoacetobacter-xylanase. It oxidizes the alcohols to acetic and other organic acids. Kvass is a lacto-fermented beverage. It is primarily fermented by the action of yeast and the substrate utilized is rye bread. The alcohol content is 0.5 to 1%. The interesting feature is that it can be flavored with fruits, raisins and mint. Kvass is rich in vitamins such as vitamin B1, B6, pantothenate, and it is also a rich source of minerals like magnesium, phosphorus. The presence of lactic acid and simple sugars contributes to its pleasant taste, and it is also reported to improve the digestion of the consumer. Apple cider is produced when the apple juice undergo double fermentation, that is, first the alcoholic fermentation and then acetic acid fermentation to produce the apple cider. The traditional method involves the use of yeast and acetic acid bacteria which collectively ferment in the same barrel. Apple cider contains nearly 4% acetic acid, and depending on the strength of the acid, they will have the low strength apple cider where the strength of acid is low, and the high strength apple cider where the strength is in the range of 9 to 13%. The yeast Saccharomyces cerevisiae ferment the sugars to alcohol, and consequently the acetic acid bacteria converts the alcohols to acetic acid. Some other low alcohol and lacto-fermented beverages include tepech, boza, chicha, ibatwu, kombucha, malta, palm wine, etc. There are another category of fermented beverages which are based on dairy. These fermented dairy beverages are cultured buttermilk, which may be sweet or sour. Examples are yogurt, acidophilus milk, kefir, komis, labna, etc. All these are fermented using efficient starter cultures. Kumis is produced using a liquid starter culture, whereas for kefir fermentation, solid kefir grains comprising of yeast and or bacterial fermentation starters are used. Kumis has higher alcohol content compared to kefir. Kefir is a fermented milk drink made from kefir grains. Another category is arag, which is a sour tasting fermented mare milk, which contains a small amount of carbon dioxide and up to 2% of alcohol. So, let us summarize. As we know that the collective action of fermenting organisms like lactic acid bacteria, yeast and certain acetic acid fermenting bacteria Fermentation is a mechanism whereby fruits, vegetables and dairy products can be made as functional foods because the action of many useful organisms, bacteria, fungi, yeast collectively ferment, resulting in the formation of lactic acid, carbon dioxide, acetic acid and other useful substances which not only enhance the shelf life of the product, but also improves the nutritional value. Therefore, these fermented products are widely used as functional foods. Thank you.